Hello, mysterious person behind the screen, and welcome to 2022. Yep, the new year is finally upon us. We are here. We are in 2022. But before we jump into the new content for this year and the big plans I have for content this year, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to take a minute to reflect on the past year and give a little retrospective on the films, games, TV shows and music that defined my 2021. Now, this isn't content that specifically came out in 2021, rather it's stuff that I watched last year that made an impact on me or that I really enjoyed, or just stuff that kind of, when I think of 2021, I think of that game, show, song, whatever. So obviously I'm not going to be going through everything I watched or played or whatever in 2021, but I've picked a selection of highlights and I've looked at my Letterboxd account to see the films I watched last year. So I've got a good selection, I think, that kind of rounds up just what 2021 was for me in the stuff I watched and engaged with, the media that I engaged with last year. So I'm going to go through this kind of chronologically as the months go on, just kind of looking back and just talking a little bit, waxing lyrical about the stuff I enjoyed last year. And I've spoken about some of this before in collection updates and things like that, but nevertheless, I hope this is entertaining. So get ready for a lot of jump cuts in this video as the pile becomes smaller and smaller as I go through these things. So we start off with January 2021, and probably the first thing that comes to mind when I think of that month is the show Freaks and Geeks. I got this box set last year, as you saw in my collection update, and I just fell in love with this series all over again. Watched it a few years ago, never finished it, and got this box set from Shite Factory, and this was such a good show, and it kind of, watching it last year really shone a light on just how well made the thing is. It's just wow, it's so well written, such good drama, such good characters, such good actors. The network did not know what they had when they cancelled this gem, because it is just a delightfully written piece of television. It kind of speaks to all of us. It's set in the very early 80s, and it's a high school show, but I think if you're not in high school, if you didn't grow up during the 80s, like obviously I didn't, it will speak to human interactions that all of us have. It's a really funny show. It's poignant when it needs to be. I still think the first episode is the best pilot episode for a TV show I have ever seen, in terms of just setting up everything that makes the show what it was, and what everything that makes the show great is in that pilot. And it's just talking about it now, I'm kind of itching to rewatch it because it is just such a good quality piece of TV. It could have ran for at least 5 seasons, but sadly cancelled after only 18 episodes. And but nonetheless, a real favourite. I'm so glad I rediscovered it last year. It was definitely a highlight for me for the TV shows I watched. And yeah, this set is going to get a lot of use because, like I said, I'm itching to rewatch it now. There's just so many great episodes in here, too many to name. Just fantastic show, one of my favourites. Then later on in January, Russell T Davies made his return to television with It's a Sin, and I personally think It's a Sin is Russell T Davies' masterpiece. It was a phenomenally written 5 episodes, was it? 5-part drama, and it wasn't the easiest watch. Certainly, like, so much horrific shit went down during the AIDS crisis and the HIV crisis in the 80s, and this series is written with so much care and affection. It's not all misery, like it's certainly a hard watch, but there's fun parts to it as well. It's a really fun show when it needs to be, and it's probably the most important show of the year in terms of just shining a light on everything that went down during the 80s within the gay community with the AIDS crisis. And it's an important watch. It's a rough watch. It's definitely not going to be a feel-good viewing, but it was an important story that I think needed to be told, and you could just feel the bite of Russell writing it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, nobody writes characters like Russell T Davies does, and that's certainly true again with It's a Sin. And after watching it, I really cannot wait for him to come back to Doctor Who, because he's as talented as ever, and It's a Sin just completely proved that. It's a phenomenal piece of television that it's going to be a few years before I revisit it, just because it is so, like, Like, it's such a rough watch at points, but it is one that I am really glad I did watch, and I recommend to everyone. So as that early part of the year dragged on with lockdown and everything like that, and if you watch my New Year's video, you'll know that time was very much like a self-discovery time for me. A lot of long nights, just kind of up till very early hours, just being with myself and my thoughts. To keep me entertained, though, I really got into Twitch quite a bit. Watched a lot of Twitch streamers this year, specifically two streamers that I want to shine a light on here. One of them I sort of got into heavily in 2020, but I'm going to include him here because I think his streams just defined so much of that third lockdown for me, that first quarter of the year. And so those two streamers are the always wonderful Chris Johnson, official CDJ, and MZ Plays. I found MZ Plays through Chris, through his birthday stream, kind of found her through there, and just became a religious viewer of her streams for the first couple of months of the year. Kind of dropped off when I went back to work just because timing wise, but my god, what a blast of of infectiously fun energy. MZ has managed to create a wonderfully inclusive and tight-knit but hilarious community. We did a movie night in the Discord earlier in the year, watching a Nicolas Cage film, which was just really, really good fun, and that really, it kept me sane through a lot of those long nights. And exactly the same with Chris Johnson's streams. I'm proud to be a member of the Squad, and I will continue to be for many years. Chris has always been a bit of an idol of mine. Like, I watched him when I was a kid on CBBC. Obviously, I've been listening to the Big Damn Cast since it launched. Like, I've been there from the start, you know. And his Twitch streams, again, a wonderfully tight knit community. Wonderful being a part of his Discord, because there's always so much fun going on there. It's just great to be a part of that community and talk with like-minded people, and whenever he's streaming, I always try to make an effort to jump onto his streams, because they're just always so much fun.
I knew there was something I'd forget to mention. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention this when I was recording the bulk of the footage, but Hack Slash became my comic book obsession for the majority of the year, to the point where I was still not finished with the series. I had so many comics and graphic novels I wanted to read this year, but I started on Hack Slash, and, well, I became so obsessed I haven't really stopped. The adventures of Cassie Hack and her companion Vlad, they become like my soap opera. I just keep dipping in and out every now and then, and the reason I'm taking so long on them is because I'm enjoying them so damn much, and I don't really want them to end. Cassie as a character is so flawed and vulnerable and interesting, and her relationship with Vlad is one of the most endearing partnerships I've ever read in a comic. Wonderfully written characters, brilliant stories, incredibly well executed horror. Hack Slash has really cemented itself as a true favourite for me, and I just, God, I love that world, I love those characters so much.
And onto a video game now. Probably the game I think that, when I think of video games for 2021, this is the one that comes to mind. Yeah, it was a PS Plus title on the PS5, again, for the first few months of the year, and it was Control, the Ultimate Edition. This game is incredible, and I recommend it to anyone who likes kind of Metroidvania-style games, semi-open world, action-adventure, third-person. It's so much fun, and I sank so many hours into it in that lockdown. So many long nights trying desperately to defeat the hardest bosses, because it's a hard game. The game does not hold your hand at all, and I really enjoyed it for that, because it made for so many memorable days where I just did nothing but stay on that game for hours on end, just trying to power through it and beat the game, and it's just such a fun game. One of the most intriguing worlds I think I've seen in a video game for such a long time. Great lead performance by Courtney Hope as Jessie Faden, the protagonist of the game. She's a very interesting and unique character to spend the game with. It's a long game, so she's kind of a perfect protagonist to spend that length of time with. The the enemies in the game, they're really, really freaky. It's so really strong horror elements to it, and the horror works really, really well. When it wants to be scary, it is really scary. When it wants to be funny, it's hilarious. When it wants to be exciting, it's so exciting. It is a brilliantly constructed game. Complete surprise, because I kind of got it on the PS Plus. Started playing it just as a PS5 game to play, because I didn't have many games for the PS5 and I needed something new to play on that console. And yeah, just sank so much time into it. A complete time sponge. And I ended up getting 99% of the trophies. I nearly got platinum. I nearly 100% of the game. I got every collectible. I did most of the bureau assignments. I explored pretty much every inch of that world, looking for stuff, looking for secrets, except for one trophy, and my game is glitched, so I cannot get the trophy unless I go back and start the game all over again, which is so frustrating, because I go on the page, and it's 99% of the trophies, there's one missing. It's so frustrating, but at the end of the day, I've pretty much got 100%, I got all the skins, did everything in the game, and will be one that I'm looking forward to replaying in a few years' time, when I've kind of forgotten about it a bit. And I'll go back to it and just have so much fun, because it is one of... I think it came out in 2019, but it is one of my favourite things I've done this year, was just to play Control and really just get so caught up in it. It's been a long time since I've kind of sank so many hours into a game like that. I love things that are kind of set in one singular location, and Control is. It's set in this one big building, but it's a big world. Like, the amount of floors that are in this building, it's different areas and different settings. It reminds me a lot of Batman Arkham Asylum, where it's all set in this one kind of claustrophobic location, but there's so many different layers to it, and it's so much fun to kind of revisit areas that you encountered earlier in the game later on, when you've got upgrades and stuff, and it's like, this is what I was meant to do, but I didn't have the ability. And I mean, by the time you're fully upgraded, you just, it is so much fun to just fly around and just chuck in boulders at enemies. It's like an X-Men game, really. Shooting enemies, and it's so much fun. I love Control. It's really was a highlight of my 2021. Such a great game. And often when I was playing Control, I'd be listening to a band that I got into this year with their release of the new album, and that is Pale Waves. And I'd heard bits and pieces of their stuff, and I always kind of liked them, but I really only properly got into it with their release of their new album, Who Am I? And yeah, like I said, so many of my nights from January to March were just late nights playing Control, listening to Pale Waves, and that was such a cool experience. And again, when I think of 2021, that's kind of those experiences and those nights are what come to mind. Pale Waves are a great band. They're very lots of influence with the Cranberries, which I really like, because I love the Cranberries so much. Very pop punk. Pop punk seems to be making a bit of a revival, which I'm really happy about, because I love pop punk. Very Avril Lavigne. I really like their music. What can I say? So of course, throughout the last couple of years, I've been on my big Doctor Who rewatch from the very beginning, including missing episodes, and a big bulk of 2021, and I hit this era in about March, I think, was the Pertwee era, and I'm still on it. I mean, at this point, I call it a Doctor Who marathon, but it's essentially a Doctor Who brisk walk. Because I started in March 2020 and I'm just on the end of Pertwee now. I'm so slow on it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying savouring it and going through this journey, because it will take me ages anyway, so I figure I might as well just savour the journey. I'm on Planet of the Daleks now, but a big bulk of the year was finishing up Troughton's era, like end of Season 5, Season 6, and then into Pertwee's era. And the whole marathon has given me a new outlook on a lot of stories, and thankfully I'm really enjoying Pertwee's era, because it was always kind of one that I think everyone kind of has that one era or one Doctor that they kind of struggle to get into when they're breaking through the show for the first time. Mine was always Pertwee in his era, and I'm so glad that I've kind of rediscovered it now. When watching it from the start, you realise kind of how much of a precursor it was to what we have now, with the recurring characters and the family and everything, and bringing that in at the end of Troughton's era is such a fantastic breath of fresh air. So the Doctor Who watch through has certainly been keeping me busy. Also in March, I took the opportunity to catch up on some Wes Anderson films that I'd never seen before, and indeed this year I'm planning on, quite soon actually, going through his whole filmography from beginning to end, rewatching the ones I've seen and just watching all the ones I haven't seen all in a row, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. But I think the two I watched this year were Rushmore and Moonrise Kingdom, and I was kind of umming and ahhing about which one to put on this list, because I really, really loved both, and I can't really decide which one's better in my head. Rushmore has such a lovely aura to it, and it's quite a simple film, but it's really well done. But in the end, I think I went for Moonrise Kingdom, simply because the aesthetic and the soundtrack, just, again, when I think of 2021, this instantly springs to mind for me. Of course, the Space Pirates video used one of the songs from Moonrise Kingdom, because I watched Moonrise Kingdom and I was like, I really like that little tune. That's a really nice little ditty. And then watching the Space Pirates, it was just like, oh fucking hell, wait, this would fit quite well. So that's I think that's kind of why I put it on this list. Great film, really. I mean, it's Wes Anderson, so the aesthetic and that is always going to be interesting. But this is the Criterion edition. Lovely, lovely film. Just a perfect. There's something very innocent and raw about it in the way it portrays love, specifically young love between two 12-year-olds, in a very intimate way, and between two kids like that. There's a sense of innocence to it, and it's a really magical film like that. And yeah, like I said, the soundtrack and everything. It's kind of why I put it on this list, this video, if you like. So yeah, Moonrise Kingdom. Also, a huge part of the year was a show that I first watched around about this time, kind of March, April time, 2021, and a show I barreled through, absolutely fell in love with it, and when it finished, I just started watching it all over again. And that is, oh god, all the discs, all the cases are falling out. You've guessed what it is. It's The Office. It's the US remake of The Office. Always was very resistant to it, because I was like, it's a remake, US remakes. Not a fan of US remakes. I'll just stick with the original UK one. And I was proved right for the first season, and then as I just powered through with it, I just fell in love with the show as it began to diverge itself from the British version and become something so different and so likeable and excellent and wonderful to watch. Season 8 is missing here because yeah, like I said, I started watching it all over again and I'm on season 8, so it's missing from this set, but it's elsewhere. But yeah, what a great show, and what a surprise. I'm so happy that, because obviously it is a bit of a pop culture phenomenon. It really did kind of take the world by storm, spawned 1,000 internet memes and gifs, and it's just I'm really happy that it is genuinely as good as everyone says it is. The peak seasons for me are like seasons 3 to 7. Everything in that period for me is just pure gold, and so different from the UK version, but like equally as good, just in a really different way. The last couple of seasons do take a dip in quality, but they're still good. They're still fun and funny. So once I finished watching it, I thought I'll go back and watch the UK version now. So I did, and really enjoyed revisiting that because I haven't seen it in years. And then I finished the UK version again. I was like, it's such a brilliant show. Shall I watch the US one again? Yeah, I think I will. And like I said, I just started it all again from the beginning. So I've watched a lot of Office this year, and I'm really happy to. It's instantly become one of my comfort shows, one of my favourite shows. Really great stuff, The Office. And again, for March, this was a freaking surprise, wasn't it? I am very vocal about how I dislike the previous 2 films in this trilogy. I did not expect to genuinely love Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you were told me at the start of 2021 that I would be really happy to not only have watched the Snyder Cut, but to own it on 4K and be really proud to own it, I would have said you were a fool. Because I hate Batman v Superman, and I don't really like Man of Steel, and I was kind of dreading this. I really was, but when I watched it, yes, it's 4 hours long. It is a long undertaking. It is a commitment, but I really enjoyed it, and watching it, and then the credits came up. It said For Autumn, obviously the tragic loss of Zack's daughter Autumn. It kind of hit me. I was like, yeah, this is bigger than really. You know, my vision of these characters will never align with Zack Snyder's, but this is so much bigger than that. You know, it is a bit of closure for that family. They had their film completely stripped away from them, and what was released in 2017 was just an act of, I think, cinematic vandalism. After having seen this, this is so much more powerful. It's so well constructed. It's baffling that they even thought they needed to fix this at all, because the problems that were in Batman v Superman, that are still there, by the way, I still don't like that film, they were fixed in Zack's version of Justice League. The issues I had were fixed. It is a hugely enjoyable film, so much more so than the other two, and just really vindicating to get Zack's story, Zack's vision released. And yeah, I really enjoyed this, and that was such a nice surprise, because I really went into it just dreading it, and yeah, really lovely surprise to have that in March 2021. Great film, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Of course, Marvel Studios continued the MCU with Phase 4, debuting with WandaVision, the first MCU TV show, and I am very mixed on Phase 4. I'm not going to be talking about all of their stuff in this video, but I'll give a special mention to WandaVision, because although I thought it kind of dropped the ball on the ending, for the most part, it was a really great collective experience in the kind of pop culture landscape to discuss every week. It was by far the biggest show on the planet for a good couple of months. Everyone was talking about this. It was a great collective experience to theorise what was happening week after week. It perfectly suited the weekly format. When they revealed that it was Agatha all along, that whole being a part of that thing, and everyone kind of laughing along, but also like, oh, this is really good drama. Yeah, great experience to be a part of. So as we headed into the spring and summer months of 2021, lockdown ended. The long days of me staring up at the ceiling, playing Control, listening to Pearl Waves came to an end. And went back to work, and we sort of moved into the hotter weather. During this time, I was watching a lot of the YouTube channel Dead Meat, and I sort of shudder to say this, but so much of my year was kind of looking forward to Halloween. Like, really early on in the year, I was just like, I could really go for Halloween right now, and that didn't stop. Like, especially in the summer months, I was just like, yeah, screw this hot weather, can we just like have some pumpkins and stuff, please? Like, I was just so hyped for Halloween this year, and watching a lot of Dead Meat, the YouTube channel, helped with that a lot, because I just got so obsessed by the kill counts and the ranking videos. Got really into horror, probably more than I ever have this year, expanding my knowledge of the genre, and you know how much I love horror. Anyone who knows me will just... The slasher icons, show me a horror film, I'll be entertained, you know, even if it's a really crap one sometimes. So I love horror so much, and Dead Meat really helped with that kind of addiction. I was listening to a lot of his videos when I was at work, like the audio of James A. Janice talking about kill counts and rankings, and really fun stuff. Really have a lot of fondness for Dead Meat as a YouTube channel, and this year was kind of the first year I got into them so strongly. I started replaying Ultimate Spider-Man on the GameCube, which was, again, really fun to revisit that. I mean, it's one of my favourite games ever, so it's always a pleasure to revisit that. For the first time properly, I really delved into Life is Strange 2. One of my biggest regrets of the Life is Strange video I made this year, I'm really proud of that video, but one of my biggest regrets is me saying that I didn't connect with the second one, when really I didn't really give it a proper chance, because when I played it properly, I sat down and played it properly this year, I really enjoyed it. I had such a great time with that game. Packs an emotional punch. Love the soundtrack. You'll be hearing a lot about it in an upcoming video that is written and recorded. It is being edited right now. But yeah, I had a great fun with Life is Strange 2, and I'm really glad that I kind of gave it another chance, because yeah, really enjoyed that game. And speaking of really enjoyed that game, another one that really defined this period last year was Maquette, the game Maquette, which was a puzzle game. Again, it was a PS Plus title. What a beautiful little game. It was a really engaging puzzle game with the mechanic, the kind of recursion mechanic, playing with scale. Really fun puzzles. Very short. I think it's only like 6, maybe even like 3 or 4 hours long. It's not that long. But I was just savouring it. Really haunting soundtrack, great licensed music, a wonderful like atmosphere to it, and at the core of it, a really heartfelt, well-performed love story with Bryce Dallas Howard and some other guy who I can't remember the name of, lending their voices to this kind of love story that you play through and watch the decay of this relationship. And yeah, it's got a lot to say about relationships, and it does so through really engaging puzzles, really fun mechanics. Yeah, what a great game. What a really beautiful game. I really loved Maquette, and yeah, it was a really fun time. Heading into more of the summer months, just heading straight into May, June, July. Went back to the cinema for the first time since February 2020 actually, with A Quiet Place Part 2. So A Quiet Place Part 2 is a special film to me now, just because of heading back to the cinema, and it was such an incredible experience to go back there after so long, and just soak up a film again. I really enjoyed the experience, and I've been to the cinema a lot since then, since May this year. But yeah, A Quiet Place Part 2 was a real special experience. It was to go back there to the cinema, which is a place I love so much after so long and the lockdowns and everything. It was an incredible experience, and I'm really happy that I did get to go back. And was such a great film. Quiet Place Part 2 was a really great film. So yeah, and of course in midsummer, Netflix released their Fear Street trilogy with the horror films Fear Street 1994, 1978 and 1666. Have I got that right? Yeah, I've got that right. Cool. Great trilogy. They're not the best films in the world, but they're really, really fun. And it was great to they released one film per week, and what a great story to be a part of. It was it all came full circle in the end. 3 films with very distinct identities, but the threads carry over. Really, really great films, and the definite highlight of looking forward to a new one each week. So yeah, in August, my favourite band, The Killers, released their new album, Pressure Machine. Spoke about this in a previous collection update video. I think it's a fantastic album. I've listened to it front to back quite a few times over the course of the year since its release, and just on multiple listens, you just pick out the brilliance of the lyrics, how well the story has been told here, with the messages from the townspeople. The stories that are told here are just so powerful. And so vividly portrayed within the songs. Favourite on the album, oh god, it's an instant classic for me. I don't know how I pick a favourite. There's so many good ones here. I mean, I was always gonna love it because it's my favourite band, but yeah, they knocked it out of the park with Pressure Machine. Beautiful album. So good. Really was so good. And in the summer, I listened to a lot of Tellison, the band Tellison. Again, I spoke about them in a recent update because I bought a t-shirt off them and got a really nice message from the lead singer with it. They got me through a particularly rough time. I won't go into any more details, but there was about a week stretch where I was not having a good time, and for various reasons, and reasons that escape me, they were the only band left on my phone. For some reason, my Spotify decided to delete all my downloads. I didn't have access to any internet or data, so they were the only band on my phone. So I listened to an awful lot of Tellison, discovered a lot of new songs that I hadn't heard before, and loved every minute. Really enjoyed submerging myself in that band during a particularly tough time, so they got me through that, and really grateful to them for doing that. And then one of the big cinema releases in August was, or I guess it was the end of July, wasn't it? End of July, August time, was James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Oh my god, Oh my god, the Suicide Squad. What a phenomenal film. This is like really connected with so many people, and I completely understand why. This is a comic book movie masterpiece. I think it's one of my very favourites now of the genre. So creative. It was a real refresher after sort of being a bit meh about a lot of the MCU stuff this year. James Gunn comes in with his take on DC's The Suicide Squad. Blows the first one completely out of the water. So much rewatchability, so colourful. The soundtrack, incredible. I've listened to the audio commentary on this 4K. Amazing stuff. It's one of my very favourite things of the year. The Suicide Squad. Oh my god, guys, this film's incredible. I can't say enough good stuff about it. It is, God, it's a good film. Again, it's just one I will rewatch quite endlessly, I think. And you knew it was coming. You can see these two here. They've been sat there the whole video. August time was when I dove into the Chucky franchise properly for the first time. Power through it. Like, I think I watched like one film a day for like a week, and when it was over I was just like, what am I meant to do with my life now? I marathoned this franchise to death. Really enjoyed each and every one. Child's Play 3, but the rest of them, amazing. Really enjoyed all of these. So much so that I bought these very expensive dolls of Chucky and Tiffany, but they look really cool, and they talk, so...
Chucky. Yes.
Oh, I'm an adult. Yeah, Chucky. I guess I'll mention it now. The Chucky TV series came to the UK earlier, like quite later on in the year, in December time. Watched all that. Again, what a great show, and what a great sequel to these films. When the last one ended, I was just like, well, hang on, what am I meant to do now? Thankfully, the TV series had me covered with a great show that's really the most interesting thing about it is the relationships between the kid cast. Chucky is just a bonus, and having it be such an expert sequel to these films, I will be rewatching these many, many times in the future. I love these films to bits, and I love these two little sods as well. So yeah, a real highlight of my year, a real discovery of the year was the Chucky franchise. Loved it so much. And into September, skipping ahead quite a bit, watched some cool films, rewatched some TV shows, blah 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 blah, and then discovered. Well, not discovered. I got the Criterion box set of this series. I'm trying not to knock these over. It's like a balancing act at this point. I got the Criterion box set of this trilogy in the sales on Amazon, the Prime Day sales. Watched these over a couple of days in September. It is, of course, the Before trilogy, Richard Linklater's masterful account of love. Before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight. What an incredible cinematic achievement, just to kind of see these characters and then check upon them 10 years later in real time. So the actors have aged 10 years each time. What a phenomenal cinematic achievement by this creative team of just examining how love can blossom and idealize, and then the realities of it hits you. And the first one especially kind of reminds me of an experience that I had, just the stuff that happens in this. That's all I'll say about that. The second one is probably my favourite of the trilogy. Just a brilliant extension of the first one, kind of looking at it from a different angle. The third one was probably my least favourite. You kind of lose some of that intimacy, but there is a scene in this, the fight scene in the bedroom, the argument scene, which is one of the greatest, most intimate scenes I think I've ever seen in a film. It's like a 30-minute long scene. Just incredible. So the Before trilogy was a real they're really, everyone goes on about them and how good they are, and it was such an honour and a privilege to really sit down and immerse myself in them, because people weren't lying. They are incredible works of cinema, and Before trilogy. In September, the latest instalment in the Life is Strange series arrived. Again, you'll be hearing more about it in an upcoming video. But I loved it. True Colours was just such a... oh god, just an injection of hope and optimism. It was a love letter to people, the good, the bad, emotions that we all feel. I love the... I want to... you don't understand. I want to live in Haven Springs. Like, the setting of that game was just friggin' idyllic, and I spent so long just wandering around, just soaking up that setting. Gorgeous game. Really loved Life is Strange True Colours, and yeah, you'll be hearing about that in an upcoming video, so I will say no more. And then at the end of September, we had what many a Bond fan had been waiting for. Finally, after so long, No Time to Die hit the cinema screens. I'm not gonna lie, it feels weird even holding this in my hand, because, you know, COVID happened, it got endlessly delayed, and I think everyone was just like, is this thing ever gonna come out? And not only did it come out, it was really bloody good. It's not one of my favourite Craig Bond films, it's like, it's dead in the middle for me, but it was really bloody good. Like, it's bold, it's very, very bold, and I know it's been controversial with a lot of people, but likewise, it's a lot of people really loved it, myself included. It's an incredible Bond film, one for the ages, I think. Just, I kind of got swept up in the emotion of it, not gonna lie. Just like sitting in the cinema, just being like, it's been so long waiting for this. The pandemic, so much shit has happened, and just to be there and see it and see Daniel Craig off. When I became a Bond fan, Daniel Craig had already been Bond for like 5 years. So, I mean, 6 years actually, because it was in 2012. So, I've never known a time where I've not been a Bond fan and Daniel Craig hasn't been James Bond. So, it was a real, like, end of an era for me. But yeah, no, this great film. Really loved No Time to Die, and it was just the fact that we had it and we got it at all. Just, yeah, good stuff. October rolled around, we had Halloween. I marathoned every single Halloween film. I had only ever seen the first 4 and the 2018 film. So I rewatched the ones I'd seen, watched the ones I hadn't seen. God, there's a lot of shit in there, but there's a lot of good stuff too. So that was a real highlight of Halloween, just watching every single one in the run-up to Halloween Kills, and then going to Halloween Kills dressed as Michael Myers. I mean, yeah, wouldn't have that any other way. And then at the end of the month, discovering a new Halloween favourite for me. Trick or Treat is going to be one I rewatch year round, because it was just, I rented it on Halloween night, watched it in the closing hours of Halloween season 2021, and I was just like, fuck, why have I not watched this before? This is like perfect for Halloween. It was so good, love the atmosphere, and that Trick or Treat became an instant new favourite, as did Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, which I saw in November, and really impressed me. I know it was very divisive, very controversial, which was quite surprising for an Edgar Wright film, but no, yeah, I really liked it a hell of a lot, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it when it comes to 4K. And so that brings us to the end of 2021, December time, where I watched Edward Scissorhands for the first time, which I really enjoyed that. Again, going to be revisiting it every winter time. It's such a that ending, like, surprisingly, like, hit me like a ton of bricks. Really good stuff. We had Hawkeye, obviously, I mentioned earlier, my favourite of the MCU Disney Plus TV series so far. Really enjoyed that. I loved Kate Bishop and her chemistry with Clint Barton. Great stuff. We had Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, it finally came out. Amongst all the rumours of who's going to be in it and who isn't going to be in it, as someone who really doesn't like the previous 2 MCU Spider-Man films, it really, really impressed me. I really loved it. Really impressed by it. Yeah, and as a hardcore, some might say obsessive fan of the Raimi trilogy, I was well fed. And I'll say it there, if you've not seen it yet, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people who care about spoilers have seen it, but just in case, I won't say anything, but trying to do better, that's all I'll say. Just really great. And yeah, that's it for 2021. I was going to talk about the New Year's Day Doctor Who special, but that's 2022, so I'm not going to do that. I really enjoyed it though. There you go. There's your review. So thank you for joining me on this very, very long trip down 2021 memory lane, looking at some of the things, the bits of media that defined my year, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I mean, if you've lasted this long, you must have. So I hope I've been interesting to you. What were the kind of films, games, TV shows, and such that define your year? Do let me know. I'm intrigued to see what people say. Like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you in my next one. Take care, guys.